As a new era of space exploration was beginning, 1990 proved to be a year of momentous happenings in European politics and the beginnings of equality for South Africa. Under the reforming leadership of Mikhail Gorbachev, the Soviet Union was facing dramatic changes to a 70-year rule of law. Glasnost and Perestroika, the Gorbachev policies of openness and restructuring, were giving the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania more confidence in their demands for greater autonomy. This soon became an open call for total independence, and by March, Lithuania had declared its independence from the USSR. Subsequently, the Congress in Russia declared a new law that a republic could secede if more than two-thirds of that republic's residents agreed. The political commentators could see the future unfolding, even if the politicians did not.
I think Gorbachev foresees the future of the Soviet Union quite clearly. It should become, well, I don't know in how much time, but it should become independent Ukraine, independent Russia, independent Georgia, independent, say, Baltic states. So they have to work out their platform this way, because sooner or later they will be faced with this problem.
As Soviet troops were withdrawing from occupied territories, Lech Wałęsa, the shipyard electrician who had led the Solidarity trade union in ousting Poland's communist leaders, became the country's first democratically elected president. While Europe was reorganizing and drawing up new maps, astronauts on the Space Shuttle Discovery were releasing the Hubble Space Telescope using a robotic arm. Once out of the cargo bay and disconnected from the shuttle's electrical system, the Hubble began running on its own batteries. Electricity-generating solar panels were activated from the side of the telescope to power its sophisticated cameras and sensors. The Hubble is the only telescope ever designed to be serviced in space by astronauts. The ongoing repair program will allow the telescope to remain in service until at least 2013. While NASA was preparing for decades of scientific discovery, Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein made decisions that would change the immediate future of the oil-rich Gulf state. By August of this momentous year, Saddam Hussein had ordered his troops into an invasion of Kuwait. Within hours, invading Iraqi forces had occupied all of Kuwait City's installations, setting up roadblocks at major intersections and cutting fuel and gas supplies. By overrunning and confiscating Kuwait's oil fields, Iraq was estimated to control some 20% of the Western world's oil supply. Economists were foreseeing a global crisis for the economy.
The rise in oil prices does threaten a rise in inflation. It does threaten growth. There may be a world recession flowing on from this.
Over the following weeks and months of 1990, the United States President, George Bush Sr., rallied a coalition force from 34 countries to the aid of the Kuwaitis. When he was released after 27 years as a political prisoner of the South African government, Nelson Mandela was the world's most famous prisoner. This living legend had come to symbolize the fight for black nationalism and opposition to apartheid. Mandela's years in prison, many of them on Robben Island, for crimes that included sabotage committed while he spearheaded the struggle against the oppression of apartheid, had not made him a bitter man. Following his release from prison in February 1990, his switch to a policy of reconciliation and negotiation helped lead the transition to multiracial democracy in South Africa. Mandela has frequently credited Mahatma Gandhi for being a major source of inspiration in his life, both for the philosophy of non-violence and for facing adversity with dignity. In a year that had also seen the resignation of one of the world's leaders, Maggie Thatcher, the British Prime Minister, stood down as leader of the Conservative Party and resigned from her position as the leader of the government. 1990, truly a year of momentous happenings.